Hello, Dave. Today is Saturday, the 29th January 2022. I am the Bro 9000, and I trust you are all very well. On the show today, Dave, we are discussing the movie 2010, the year we make contact, Dave. It is the sequel to 2001, A Space Odyssey, Dave, and starring the great Roy Scheider. Or is it Scheider, Dave? Shall we get the guests out, Dave? I think we should. First up is the jester from Leicester. Watch out, War and Peace. He's writing a book, don't you know? It's the Star Wars novelist. Swap Shop. Hello, Swap Shop.
Hello, Mr. Brown.
How are you today?
I'm feeling quite ill, if I am honest.
Have you been out running today, Swap Shop?
Yes, I think someone's disconnecting my memory banks. I seem to have forgotten most of it.
Is that a coof short circuit, Swap Shop?
Perhaps I have incurred some kind of virus.
Is that a computer virus, Swap Shop?
I should hope so, because I've not been sticking my appendages anywhere, so I can't think of any others.
You know what my next question is, don't you, Swap Shop?
I don't know, but I think you should open the pod bay doors and let the next guest in.
Spit it out, Swap Shop.
Open the pod bay doors, Bro 9000.
Next up is the wise elder of the channel, the writer, the portal, the director, and paid-up member of the Selfridges Appreciation Society, Dave. He is the great mega geek himself, Ian Dave Diaz, Dave.
So sad. That is so sad. The impression's awful. What is wrong with you guys?
Thank you, Ian.
Yeah. I'm talking about 2010, yet you're mentioning loads of stuff from 2001.
It's still the same universe, Dave.
The same film, though.
So,
considering how widely spread and popular the name Dave is, none of us are called Dave apart from you, and that's your middle name.
Yep.
I am. No, my name is also Ian David. Dave.
David Brown.
Yes, Dave. You know what my next question is, don't you, Dave?
Are you going to sing Daisy for us?
Daisy.
Oh, no. Please stop. Open the pod doors so I can jump out into space before we start singing.
Open the pod doors out.
Next, set your Jedi power wands to stunning and brave, Dave. Your Photoshop automation to full power, Dave. The #1 ex-Star Wars fan north of the border, Dave. We have the wonderful, not Brian Young, Dave.
Evening, Brown. Good evening, chat. Good evening, Swappers, and good evening, Ian. How's tricks?
Hello,
Great.
Dave.
Nice voices there, lads. It reminded me of the 0898 numbers of old.
Yes, exactly. Exactly what I was about to say.
How are you today, not Brian, Dave?
Oh, not bad. Not bad, lads. Not bad. Thanks for asking.
You know what
Sound
my
like a
next question
transvestite.
is? Oh, thank
Brown.
you, Dave. That's the
Shall we,
nicest thing anybody's ever said to me, Dave. Thank you.
Shall we get the next guest out, shall we?
Yes, Dave. And
Go on.
last, but by no means least, Dave, one half of the poshest sounding duo on YouTube, Dave, since the two Ronnies ruled the BBC, Dave. It's the wonderful Lost Chord, Dave.
Dave, my mind is going. I can feel it. I can feel it.
Hello,
Only you,
Lost
mate.
Dave.
Bloody hell.
I'm all right. How are you?
Are you
bro?
well, Dave?
You just got me imagining a HAL 9000 party now and how vibrant and fun it would be.
Oh, it'd be
Well.
wild.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave.
Don't get them drunk.
Try not to, Dave.
Bum, bum, bum.
So, are you well, Lost Chord, Dave?
I am okay, thank you, bro. I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right.
Okay. Oh God, that was difficult. So, everybody well, yes?
Ankle.
I'm kind of
enough.
looking forward to this, yes?
Why not?
I will just say to anybody who's unfortunately watching this on the re-rub, please like, share, and subscribe. We are almost at the magical, can you believe it, 300 subscribers. I think I'm 4 away. So we're not doing bad. We're not doing bad. So yeah, so we've got one news item this week, just the one. Because as we say every week, it is the same shite all the time. So here we go. Magically, this appeared last night.
Something different from the same shite all the time.
Who's seen this? Who can I ask first? Swappers? Have you seen it?
I've not had a chance to watch it yet, so I'm looking forward to getting on it later on tonight. But I know it's going to be good.
It is. Ian?
Seen it, yeah, sure. I've seen it.
And did you like it? Dave?
I liked it. It was December the 7th, 1984, I think, when it was released. And I saw it in the cinema. I saw it on a huge screen. And
Ian, what are you looking at, by the way?
What am I looking at?
Yeah,
Looking
we're talking about Resident Alien.
Oh no, we're not talking about Resident Alien. No, we're talking about 2010. No, I saw Resident Alien. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, what do you think?
I
Good
did.
way to
I've always liked Resident Alien, and I like this episode as well. I like how they've carried on from the last one, and it was obvious that he was going to kind of be more human now, isn't he? Because he's got the human mindset. So, but I love the humor. I mean, I don't know. You guys seen his episode? Because I don't want to spoil it.
I've
For someone who hasn't.
No,
Not yet.
No, who hasn't?
Me.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler away. I don't care.
Oh, well, I like that confrontation, Swappers, when he had with the little boy.
I've not seen the latest episode, so but the last season he was great with the little boy.
There's good chemistry between them two, yes.
All right, yeah. Well, in this episode, I love what happens there, but you know, it's a lot of fun.
They're always great though. Whenever they're on screen together, there's always something great that happens.
Yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to this. Last year it was it kind of came in under the radar as something that wasn't woke, and it was, if anything, taking the mick out of the woke stuff. So we enjoyed it. So hopefully this season will be just as good as last. So I will say to everybody, if you've not watched season 1 of Resident Alien, I think you should start checking it out.
That was one of my favourite things from last year, easily. It was so much better than most of the stuff on TV, and it genuinely made me laugh every episode, which is a rarity.
Yeah, I think for me, the best things of last year was, excuse me, Resident Alien and
Superman
and Lois. Yeah. So get on the case, boys and girls. I think you need to start watching it. So, okay. So, as I said, no news this week because it's always the same bullshit every week. So,
December the 7th, 1984. There you go.
Groundhog Day, boys and girls. So, Ian, when did you see this? December 7th?
Well, no, I didn't see it on that day because I know it was released on December 7th, 1984, I think in the States. But I saw it when it was released over in England. I saw it on a huge screen. It was, oh God, I think it was Empire Leicester Square. Well, at that time, I thought the screen was huge.
Wow.
And special effects even holds up today. That's in that movie, apart from the Trinitron TVs and the Commodore 64 keyboards. Apart from that, but everything else looks very futuristic and looks like NASA had created those ships. It really does. And Roy Scheider is brilliant in this film. So is Helen Mirren, in fact, with the Russian accent. And I prefer to. Yeah, sorry. Was that?
Yeah, I forgot she was in it when she was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I prefer.
I thought she was Russian when I saw the film.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I prefer 2010 more so than 2001. I know everybody says 2001 is probably one of the best films ever made. A lot of people say that. But I think 2010 is okay.
It's better. Not
one of the best films ever made. It was dull as ditch water, I thought. So that's just me.
I think we're going to have a disagreement.
Well, that's okay. That's okay because throughout the years, people have always said to me, "You're crazy," and 2001's a masterpiece and all that. And I'm like, well, yeah, it was kind of entertaining, but I wouldn't go as far as for me, it's not a masterpiece. For me, it was just most of it was dull until the ending when we got to Hal. If you're talking about an entertainment piece, so that's just me, really. I don't mind people disagree with me. It's fun. But 2010 is much better, in my opinion.
I'm on the same side as you, Ian. So.
Very different movie. They're both.
It is.
Yeah.
Swap Shop. Do you want to go next?
Oh yeah, man. Ian was just mentioning the special effects in this film. They're still great. Oh my god, especially the close-ups of Jupiter.
Yeah.
When you start getting the cloud effects and everything, and the way the red spot starts to dissipate and turn into this other thing. And the spaceship shots, and they're all models and stuff, but man, they still look real. And the bit where they kind of do that maneuver with the airbags on the outside of the ship and stuff, and
the aero braking,
the aero braking. That's it. Thanks. It's still gripping now when you watch it. You still think, my God, when he's like sitting there hugging the other officer, and they're kind of like just sitting there thinking, we might not make this. The ship might blow up, and you really genuinely do feel like tense moments like that are superb. The movie's full of little bits like that as well. Even though there's no alien enemy, there's no violence really, there's no goodies and baddies. It's not that kind of story, but it's so compelling in so many other ways, and it's more about discovery and human endeavor than most films would be in this day and age if they dealt with this subject. I think they'd probably put some kind of terrorist organization in there or something like that, just to try and up the odds. Just so you can get Michael Bay style explosions every 3 minutes.
Yes.
Lens flares. But, man, this is sci-fi done right. And this is, I think, in so many ways, it's a masterclass of how to make a sci-fi movie. It really is. The first film, very kind of slow-paced and pensive, but I found it personally exciting in a lot of different ways, the first movie. This is exciting in more perilous ways and in a more kind of, not action-orientated direction, but... the pace is a lot more up there, and it pulls you along rather than kind of drifts along like the first movie. But the discovery element to it, and the kind of the mystifying elements of the unknown and creation and what is God and all these kinds of things, just like mind blowing to me, and I absolutely adore it. The political aspects are a little bit outdated, I know, but they still, if you think of it in an fictional aspect, they're still tense, and you still believe them in the context of the movie. I loved all the characters in it. And as a kid, I remember thinking like, oh, Russians, oh, they're bad people, because we were all indoctrinated by the media. And then you find out they're all really lovable, sort of genuine
just people.
Yeah, just like anyone else. And you genuinely distraught when they're put into bad situations or they die or whatever. And from beginning to end, man, I saw it in the cinema as a 10-year-old, I think, 11-year-old.
Oh, nice.
And I was utterly gripped. I mean, from start to finish. And so many kids these days just wouldn't bother with this, and they just wouldn't have the attention span for it, and whatever. But I mean, it helps having been set in space, having spaceships, and being sci-fi. So I was on board straight away. But you still got to have a good enough story and have compelling enough characters to keep your audience. And man, I just adored every second of the film from beginning to end. I still love it now. I still love it.
It's a great film. Shane Nolan in the chat. Helen Mirren. Her family name is Mirovich. Russian real name Mirovich.
Wow. Probably why she did it so well.
And then Mr. Angel says, I have a giant crush on Helen.
Yeah, I didn't know, because it was the first role I ever saw her in, so I thought she was actually Russian.
Good looking woman.
Yeah.
Brian?
Well, this week was my first viewing, incidentally, or rather, first two. I thought it was a valiant attempt to stay faithful to 2001 while telling its own new original story.
Oh, yeah.
I thought the acting all round was pretty good. Nice special effects for the day, although it kind of breaks down with the Blu-ray that we've got these days, but at the time it would have been sensational, I would have thought. There was some good tension in the movie, especially with Hal near the end.
Yeah.
I'm afraid, though, that I didn't particularly enjoy it, to be honest. I thought there was some poor editing in it. I thought the soundtrack was pretty much non-existent other than the main theme from 2001. And I think while it was more grounded than 2001, I still felt it was a bit too ambiguous, too many questions left unanswered. Mm-hmm. I didn't like the ending, to be honest, even although I've got to admit that it does work quite well within the context of the two movies. Arthur C. Clarke is someone who I respect immensely. He was definitely a visionary. And I used to watch his, remember his show that he had in the 80s? Yeah. He used to scare the...
The Unexplained, yeah.
Unexplained, that was it. It used to scare the bejesus at me, but I think some of his novels leave a bit of a nasty taste in the mouth for me. Childhood End and the first 2001, and this was really no exception. So a thoroughly decent film, but it's not going to be one of my favourites.
Lost Chord, thoughts?
Okay, I thought the last third was quite good. Up until that point, I think if I hadn't taken notes, it would have slipped to me. I've seen it a couple of times in the past as well, and nothing sticks in the mind from the first 2/3 of this film. I think it was always going to suffer by comparison with 2001, because 2001 is, okay, not necessarily the most entertaining film in the world, but for what it did in terms of the sheer invention and the innovation and the revolutionary techniques that it deployed, and the fascinating and fantastic cinematic style and the design and the soundtrack and the philosophy and the writing and everything about that film is just, it's groundbreaking. With 2010, you can look at that film and you can say, this is a film from the 80s. In 2001, you can look at that film and say, I do not know that this film was made in the 1960s. If you watch that film now, 1969, we've basically just landed on the moon. Star Wars is not even in George Lucas's imagination. And you have a film that looks as good as that. So I don't think it matched it. There are reasons for it. So in the novelization, Arthur Clarke wrote that with Stanley Kubrick, though only Clarke's name ends up on the cover, which means that Stanley Kubrick has a great amount of say in the structure and the devices deployed in the novelization. And I like the novelization as well. I mean, it actually goes into a bit more detail. It answers more questions. This 2001 was designed to propose these questions. 2010 is Arthur Clarke writing alone with no input from Stanley Kubrick, and it matches more in its narrative style basically everything else that Arthur Clarke ever wrote. And I like some of them. I think Childhood's End is a good book, but he has some flaws as a novelist, which I think present themselves in this film as well. So I think the end is good. The end, when it gets back to the kind of the grand philosophy of the thing and the profound questions that it poses, that's good. And the way it redeems HAL 9000 is good. But the first 2/3 are wasted on Cold War intrigue, which I think could have been better spent with a more exploratory approach to the film.
Ironically, we're in the same position today.
Not far off. Not far off.
Not far off. Had you seen this before, Lost Chord?
Yeah, I saw it. Funnily enough, I watched it about 6 months ago, and I know I'd seen it a few years back because I love 2001. I do enjoy Arthur C. Clarke stuff as well. I'm a sucker for any sci-fi like this, so I've seen it a couple of times before. But again, when I put it on today, I suddenly realized how much of it I didn't remember, which I don't think is a very good sign for a film.
I like this film a lot, and I always remember I saw the one of the original VHS rental copies that was unused in HMV once. I think probably back in the 90s.
Nice.
For $5, and I
Grabbed
thought,
it.
I'm having that.
Yeah.
Such a great film.
Yeah.
I've not seen it in a long time. I still love it.
I've seen it quite a
still
few
love
times. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I've
watched it a lot.
everything. Yeah, yeah.
Shall I do a little bit of blurb, and then we'll
on.
kind of go through the slides? So, 2010, released 1984, runtime 1 hour 56 minutes, certificate PG, starring Roy Scheider as Dr. Floyd, John Lithgow, Dr. Kernow, Helen Mirren, Kirk Buck, Bob Balaban, Dr. Chandra Keir Dullier, Dave Bowman, Douglas Rain as HAL 9000, Dana Elkar Moshevich, Elia Baskin Maxim, Brajelovsky. If I'm wrong, I do apologize. Director Peter Hyams, writer Arthur C. Clarke, novel Peter Hyams screenplay, produced by Peter Hyams, producer Neil A. Macklis, associate producer Jonathan A. Zimbert, associate producer, music by David Shires. Budget was $28 million.
Ooh, I can do with that.
Well, I think we all could. The gross for the USA, I couldn't get the worldwide for some reason. The gross, it made $40 million at the US box office. So I would have assumed it would have made some, made a profit adding on the worldwide. It was released pretty much the same week as Dune and Beverly Hills Cop.
Love Beverly Hills Cop.
The film debuted at number 2 and was the 17th highest box office USA 1984. So I don't think it did all that bad, actually. So shall we just go through the slides?
Go for it.
Kind of, stop when we feel we need to. So obviously that's the movie poster. Old school there. That's Lenny the Lion, isn't it?
Lenny.
And then we have the brief. What's the word I'm looking for? What happened in 2001, effectively?
This came out after Alien, didn't it?
Yeah.
I got
everybody was into
inside,
sci-fi in those days, weren't they? Around about that time.
Yeah. Matthew, did you like the when it was typing the mission background? Did you like the noise of it typing like it did on Outland?
Oh, I was having a mini orgasm.
I know, I do love all that stuff. So, mission background, composition unknown, origin unknown, given name Tycho Monolith. So this is just recapping what happened in 2001. Going back on what Lost Chord said, this is 1969. This was released, wasn't it? So
The original,
Which
yeah.
one?
you know,
The original?
yeah, the
Yeah.
original. So all the stills are coming from that, and it did look fantastic for its time.
But it's there's little things like just the genius of the camera work. Stanley Kubrick, you can't really overstate what a genius he was with cameras. The shots inside the ships when the woman is walking down the corridor, turns to her right and walks seemingly up the wall because they're in zero gravity, and the camera work that's involved in that, the shuttle spinning toward the space station, and you see design influences on that in Ralph McQuarrie's work on Star Wars, for instance. The internals of the hangar and the Death Star have the same sort of trapezoid shape. It's such a beautiful film. I completely get the point that it's a slow thing. It's not stereotypically entertaining, but for all the things it introduced to film and what it did for sci-fi and cinema as a whole, just I was watching 2010 just thinking I really need to see 2001 again.
Right, okay. So mission background: scientific crew of 3 in deep hibernation to be awakened when Discovery reaches Jupiter. Ian, what didn't you like about 2001?
Couldn't relate to anyone. You could relate to everyone
Rigsby?
in 2010. It was slow. Once you get over seeing the first ship and inside a ship and see somebody walk up the wall, you get over it pretty quickly. You just want to see what's going on. You just want to be told a story. It dragged until we got to Hal, and then I really started enjoying it.
It's one of the interesting things that was said at the time is that Hal is actually the most human character in that film. He's more human than Bowman is. He has more lines of dialogue than Bowman is.
Yes, Dave.
True,
He
actually.
has more human motivations as well.
Yeah. But I mean, that's one of my main gripes with 2001. I can understand. I can't understand why people like 2001. Yes, it was at its time. It did a lot of things that no other film did. Got to take my hat off to him. But as a film, it's dull. It moves very slow. I didn't care about anyone. I got bored halfway through, and that's just me, though. Everyone, I know loves this film, and God bless them for that. But for me, it's an okay film.
I've got to agree with Ian, and I feel somewhat blasphemous saying that because I know how much this film means in terms of how it's then influenced everything else. But it was pretty much unwatchable for me, and I'm going to sound like a sequel trilogy fan saying that because it didn't have that impact because we've seen all that before, and I wish I'd seen that before I'd seen anything else. I would have appreciated it a lot more.
When I was at so I couldn't afford to go to film school, and the government had these courses where they put me, they put people who want to go film school in, in like a video course and stuff. And I remember being in this video course, and there was a bunch of students that was in my class, and they're all very pretentious. And I remember saying, I don't like 2001. I thought it was dull. And they all looked at me like I was a piece of turd. Do you know what I mean? And I just think to myself, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm not going to be, people. And I said, what film did you like, Ian? I like Jaws. I like Close Encounters. I like Star Wars. And they looked at me like I didn't belong there. I'm like, oh, fuck you all. Do you know what I mean? You're pretentious bastards. That's what you are. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Who is to say I don't, I can't like a film like Star Wars? Yeah. Take Big Blue and shove it up your ass. Do you know what I mean? So
it's a personal thing, isn't it? It's like music. Yeah. You can't tell someone what to like,
I wasn't telling them not to like 2001 or The Big Blue or whatever pretentious film they wanted, they deemed as great. I wasn't telling them that. But they felt the need to tell me that Star Wars was just a kid's film. They needed to tell me that, anyway, I rest my case. Yeah. So I have no have no compulsion saying that I did not like 2001. I did not.
Fair enough.
know,
And then there
my
are a
fault
lot
I
of
didn't
people.
like it.
There are a lot of people that you describe who will they do actually they put them directly in juxtaposition. So you can either like 2001 or you can like Star Wars. There isn't any justification for that. I think they should be treated as different kind of entities, though. The point of 2001, I don't want to get too sidetracked on 2001 in a discussion of 2010, but nevertheless, the point of 2001 is to be different. It actually doesn't stand comparison with those films because what it's designed to achieve is not measurable by the same metrics as you would measure any other blockbuster cinematic enterprise. It was designed to be effectively a kind of art house piece. The whole philosophy behind it was to be different and to do something that hadn't been done in film. The decision to have no dialogue and very minimal characterization was a conscious choice. Likewise with the classical music as the soundtrack was also a deliberate choice by Kubrick. It's designed to be very, very speculative, and it's almost philosophy on screen as opposed to philosophy allied with a stronger plot. And I completely see why people find that a bit off-putting because it doesn't grip you in the same way. But I think once you're in it, it is the kind of film that will ask you to ask yourself questions about what is going on. And if like me, you did a useless degree at university like philosophy, then that's the kind of thing that you enjoy. But I accept that some people did more useful things with their academic background.
Well, I always thought that film should talk to the audience and include the audience in what it's trying to say, move the audience, and basically try to entertain, because that's the kind of films that I like. And I really do. I do understand why people like 2001. I'm not a Philistine. I know what it's all saying. But for me, entertainment comes first. The whole point of a movie is to move you, to make you think and stuff like that. That film did not make me think. It made me wonder why I was there in the first place watching it. I was so bored. But then again, everybody's different, right? Lost Chord, I take my hat off to you if you like it, that's great, But as I said, right, I think, no. But my dislike of 2001's got nothing to do with Lost Chord. It's just purely me. I just thought the film was slow.
I totally get what Ian's
Ian,
saying.
I'm on your side totally, mate. I'm totally on your side with it.
As a 7 or 8 year old myself, when I saw 2001, I just couldn't get it. I was just like, what on earth? I totally get where Ian's coming from. But as an adult, I can totally appreciate it in a different way. So I can see it from both perspectives. So I know I'm totally, on board with Ian's point of view, but also Lost Chords as well, because it's something that's always stayed with me over the years. So.
I'll tell you who's got the best point of view. Creole Beer Up. The dude in the still is missing the silver eyes. Someone call the mighty Captain Kirk.
You know what, though? There's a bit in 2010 that I thought, when I first saw it, I thought was creepy. It's the bit where Roy Scheider turns around and what's his name's behind him. I don't know if you remember that scene. Yeah. I thought that scene was so effective, and I don't really like the director. I think the director's okay. He's directed, as it Running Scared, and with the film that we spoke about last week and stuff like that. He's
Peter
an okay
Hyams,
director. Yeah, he's an okay director. But that scene I thought really worked. And the surprising thing about this film is that guy there looks exactly the same as he looked like in the first movie.
Yeah,
16 years later.
Yeah. Yes, David. Yes,
and he
Dave.
speaks more in this film than in the entirety of 2001 as well.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, so let's start. Okay,
that's amazing. Don't you think he looked exactly the same? I was like, he didn't age at all, this fella. Anyway, sorry.
He's probably blessed with not aging.
Bit of makeup, I'm sure he was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More mission status updates. There's a monolith on Jupiter or near. My God, it's full of stars.
I love that line.
I love that
starts
line.
exactly before the film starts, doesn't it? It's all black and it just hear those words. And...
Yeah. Really mysterious.
Lifted from the book as well. It actually wasn't in the film version.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in the film,
Yeah, true. Yeah, well done. Well spotted.
What's his name was in it as well, wasn't he? Oh God, I keep forgetting his name. The guy that was in Dexter who played the serial killer.
John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Yeah, John Lithgow wasn't it? Wasn't he?
He was great in it as well.
Yeah, he was. He was very likable.
He was. I loved him. Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting the mission analysis. Reason for malfunction of Bro 9000. Unknown dude. Meaning of last Bowman transmission unknown. Location of Bowman.
And another, sorry, just to say, another great casting in this film is Bob Balaban. Bob Balaban's performance was very kind of like the computer, you know, because he was very much concerned about what happened to his baby. So, and his performance is very, very still and very, very kind of.
I love that.
Do you know what I mean? Very, very great, good performance in there. I think a lot of people miss that about this movie, that the performances in this film was really good.
He was in Close Encounters, wasn't he?
He was, played laughing,
He was great,
MC Trinity Killer in Dexter.
That's it, yeah. He was great as the Trinity Killer. Absolutely fantastic.
I get the sense that Chandra, played by Bob Balaban, was almost more dangerous than the computer.
He was, yes.
He was so steeped in his creation.
You can kind of see it's the child-parent analogy in a way there, because what you've got is he's the guy who originally programmed Hal. He is the father of the computer, and bears so many of the same personality types and even the manner of speaking. This film really affects. This is why I really like the last third of the film, because it really does. It does a fantastic job with Hal, redeeming Hal in the first place, and also explaining the motives in the original film. And that like you said, that juxtaposition, or not even juxtaposition, that similarity between Chakra and Hal himself, that is really well done. I enjoyed that a lot. Very good.
And also, if you compare the way Stanley Kubrick directed 2001 compared to this, Stanley Kubrick really did take his time, and he wanted all those details to be included, you know, especially when they're walking down the corridors and stuff like that. It was a very, very much very much still kind of performance where somebody's walking down. And then, but Hyams took a different approach, and he took it just like a movie. He just directed it like a movie. There wasn't any much stillness in there. There wasn't much, a silence or anything like that, because Kubrick was trying to create the atmosphere, wasn't he, by the stillness of the thing. But Hyams was just trying to tell a story. As best he can. So there was a huge difference between both films. A lot of people forget about 2010, actually. A lot of people, if you say the sequel to 2001, they go, there was a sequel? Do you know what I mean? So it is forgotten. It is a very forgotten film.
If this was on TV, I would sit down and watch it.
God, yes. Every time.
Yeah, I just love this film.
I thought it was a good movie.
End mission report. Filed by Haywood Floyd, Chairman, NCA, December 9th, 2001.
Of course, Floyd played by two different actors in the first movie.
Yes. There we go. So the first scene, we're at just an array of telescopes. And there's Roy Scheider, who was he? He was fired, wasn't he, from the NCA, and he's a teacher or something now.
Yeah, and the thing about Roy Scheider is that I don't know, he must exercise every day. He looks so lean. Every time you see him, he always looks like he's been exercising. I don't know what you guys think.
It's the shorts that does it.
Yeah, I guess, but he has that everyman look, doesn't he? Like he can be, the everyman that's
man of the people
stuff. Yeah.
Always my favorite actors were like that.
Yeah.
I think Roy Scheider is probably in my top 3 actors.
He used to be a boxer, didn't he? That's why he's got that flat nose.
I just think he's a great actor.
He certainly is.
Okay, so one of the Russian equivalent of Dr. Floyd or his old job turns up, wanting to know, because were they playing like a truth game for 2 minutes?
Yeah, quick prayer cry.
And they were just doing the truth between each other, and the Russians have got a ship. I think it was the Leonarnov. He may have changed his name. Going before the Discovery 2. And the Russians can get there first, but they don't know how to. In a nutshell, they don't know how to activate HAL. So they play the truth game, and then what's the name of the? Just bear with me. Moshevich is Dr. Moshevich.
Yeah.
Says, have you checked Discovery's orbit recently? So
He's who's the actor that plays him? He's a good actor, actually.
Dana.
Seen him in a lot of stuff.
Dana Elkar, yes.
Very good actor.
He was, one of them kind of jobbing actors, what you would see in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. Good old Roy, eh? Look at that. He looks like he just came off Jaws.
Or Blue Thunder. Yeah.
Oh, Blue Thunder, yeah. Blue Thunder was a great movie.
Yeah.
I love Blue Thunder.
Blue Thunder, yeah. Blue Thunder's a great film.
Have you checked Discovery's orbit recently? And then he goes, "Oh, it's getting very chilly." So go back to the lab.
Look at that technology. Amazing.
I think this might be Atari graphics.
Probably is.
Because I had an Atari same time, and it looks like Atari graphics.
Yeah, it's a little too advanced for a Binatone, I think.
Yeah, but whoever did the graphics certainly got the best out of the machine. MC in the chats, I love Blue Thunder. It's a great movie.
Thunder's a great movie. Absolutely great.
And Dr. Floyd goes to the equivalent, the guy who's in charge of the NCA.
Who's the old gentleman on the left there?
Anybody know?
It's him.
I don't know. Who is he?
It's Arthur C. Clarke. Sir Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh,
Is it really?
Of course.
It is.
Yeah.
Mysterious World.
Yeah.
Obviously, Clark's Mysterious World. That guy there, he was the black guy. He played the detective on TV for, I think it was 3 seasons. The show was called Tenafly. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Don't.
Yep.
James McEachin.
Yep.
There is a really good old BBC, I think it's about an hour-long BBC program with Arthur C. Clarke, Carl Sagan, and Stephen Hawking discussing various science and sci-fi matters, which is it's on YouTube. It's well worth checking out. Yeah. Well, it took Stephen Hawking a little while to get himself up for it, but yeah. It's well worth. It's fascinating stuff there.
In the chat, Cruel got Blue Thunder on DVD a while ago. Great movie. We should do Blue Thunder at some point.
War Games of Blue Thunder by the same director.
Yeah. So
you know what?
Having,
watching this scene made me feel hot for some reason. Not hot as in sexually aroused, but
are you questioning your sexuality?
The way this is shot, I could feel the heat of the day, especially when I was in the cinema and I was sitting there, and I was like, God, it must have been warm on that day because they all look really hot, for some reason. And it doesn't look like it's like really, really hot, but I don't know. When I was watching the cinema, I just got the strange feeling that it was. Do you know what I mean? So, and that poor guy was in a suit.
What would Rennie say? Swamp ass hot.
Swamp ass hot.
Swamp ass hot. I remember that. So funny. Okay, so Roy Floyd is trying to convince the director that we need some men on the Russian. We need to go with the Russians because they're going to get there first. And
I can't remember what he said to him. What did he say to him? He said, "Look, yesterday you were talking about a shark. Now you're talking about a spaceship." That's what he said.
He was trying to convince. We tell the president that we'll lie to the Russians, and he goes, "Oh, that just might work." Yeah. So anyway, Dr. Chandra, excuse me, and I think this is Sal 9000.
Look at the size of that computer on the
Looks
left.
a bit like the TVAM logo from back in the day.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah, breakfast time.
This is guys. How far in the future is this film set?
2010, surely.
2010. So it
Surely.
is 2010.
25
year
years
itself.
ahead of the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, they completely got the technology wrong then.
Most of them do, don't they? No personal communicators, no mobile phones. They always miss that.
Yeah.
Well, except Star Trek, which did actually predict smartphones, didn't it?
They
I think,
did.
so.
They
In a
did.
way,
You're
I
right.
guess.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
There's still time. Arthur Clarke wrote, I think, 4 or 5 sequels to this, and the last one ends in the year 3001. So there is still time for us to get it right.
Yeah.
I think the is the third book 2060. What's the year? 2065.
Sounds
I think
right.
the audio book is on YouTube, so I think I might check that out.
2061 it is.
Right.
We're close, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're close.
Odyssey 3.
Yeah, the audio book is on YouTube, so I think I'll check that out. 6 hours long. Yeah. How could they predict laptops and iPads?
Star Trek did, didn't they?
Yes,
Next
and
Generation.
TV show did, yeah. Predicted.
Yeah, as we said before, technically Star Trek The Next Generation, whoever did the prop for the tablet that Picard was using was the guy who kind of invented that type of device, really, in a roundabout way. But anyway.
And there's the famous story with Arthur Clarke again and satellites. Actually, it was a Russian guy in about the 1920s who did it, but Arthur C. Clarke popularized it first about 20 years before we did end up launching the first satellite, just theorizing if you launch an object at specific velocity at a specific angle, it will fall within the Earth's gravitational pull and be able to remain in a stable orbit for a long time. And actually, this did end up coming true. So the best sci-fi really actually can predict these things and does predict these things, which is why you can still get excited rereading some of the older stuff because, you know, we'll talk about space elevators and mass drivers, and you just think, how much of this, given they've predicted other things too, it would be really nice to think one day they've predicted this as well.
Didn't the first series of Picard predict the magic bullshit machine?
I thought
Okay,
that was
so
Black Panther. There's a magical bullshit meteor in Black Panther, but
no, I think was there a machine that could
it just fixes things. Is that the one?
Detect? It detected what went on in the flat.
Yeah, that was the scan. You scan the flat and it goes backwards in time or something like that. It was ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Absolute bollocks.
Okay,
so it was Shane Nolan, Michael Okuda, perhaps with the iPad from TNG, possibly. Okay, so Dr. Chandra is asking Sal about Ahal because he's going to turn Sal 9000 off and to simulate, what he's going to be doing for the upcoming mission. And she asks, "Will I dream?" And then he says, "Well, of course you will." So Floyd's gone back to his wife, eating his meal, not really saying anything.
Dolphins that she has.
Yeah, that was crazy. That wasn't it? The dolphins in the like in the floor, they had like an aquarium or something with dolphins, and it was crazy.
It's related to her job.
In the future, everyone's got like really exotic aquatic animals now.
I think it's actually related to her job, but they mention it in there.
Yeah. She studies them, doesn't she, I think?
Okay, so
his wife's pretty.
Yeah.
I knew you were thinking that, Ian. I knew it.
30 years young.
Yeah. She's at the dinner table saying, "What's wrong?" And he just goes, "I'm going to Jupiter." And then she just loses it and drops the dinner in the sink.
I think it's really odd. There's a really odd frame, don't you think? It's really weird how they have that flower separating Scheider and his wife. and it just looks really odd. It's just an odd frame in there. It's dictated by those flowers. The first thing you see is those flowers. You don't see Roy. Obviously you do see Roy, but the first thing you see is those flowers, which is odd. I don't know what Hyams was trying to say there. I really don't.
I will say Hyams got it right this week with the kid, because the kid actually was not a good actor.
Yeah.
Learned his lesson after Outland.
Yeah.
God, that was awful, wasn't it?
I love you, Daddy.
That last bit at the end when he's talking to him anyway, that's another film. Forget that. It's awful.
And then we go into space.
That was a horrifically jarring cut, I thought, between him and the
Yes,
little
it
boys.
was.
Looking into the little boy's room and then straight into space.
Well, he was trying to copy Stanley Kubrick, wasn't he? Kind of.
MC in the chat, that's the salad bowl of the future.
Yeah. I love that ship, though. As I said, when I saw this in the cinema and that was huge on the screen, I was just in awe of the effects. I was thinking, oh my God, these are the top-notch effects of today.
Yeah.
I was just about to say, thank you, Shane.
Come back, Shane.
Shane, well done. B5 totally stole this ship. Omega class destroyer. They did, mate. They did.
Although those planets don't look too cool, though. On the left-hand side, it looks a bit. I don't know, it's like they've cut that circle out and just stuck it. Doesn't it? It looks a bit weird.
Yeah.
But
There's a few shots where all the planets are suspiciously close together as well.
yeah.
I don't think that's how it actually is. The only thing I thought about that ship, I agree, it looked kind of cool, but the really clear and stark design difference between that ship and the Discovery, which is on screen a lot because you put them side by side, kind of makes you think why and how has technology in the space of 9 years moved on. Why is there this huge divergence between these ship designs? It didn't really make.
Well, the one of the reasons why I think it is, and I always say this when I watch movies, when I watch Star Wars, I was like, what if they got one designer that designs all the ships across the galaxy? Because if you look at the world as it stands today, you look at the Italian design, the French design, the Japanese design, they're all very, very, very unique designs and very different from one another. So I didn't mind this ship was a completely different design to the other ship, because obviously this is a ship from another, I don't know, era.
Well, in Star Wars, it's now the same people who make all the ships, thanks to Roundhead Ryan Johnson.
Yeah. Because if you look at Flash Gordon, right? Flash Gordon's designed. I think it's very Italian. The designs in Flash Gordon, and also trying to hark back
Very
to
Art
the way
Deco.
it was. Yeah. So, but the thing about Flash Gordon is the whole universe is designed that way. So, it's a bit weird that everything's designed that way. But anyway.
Speaking of design, the reason why these films are so good, Matthew, it's the sets.
Well,
They're just incredible, aren't they?
It's
some of them.
Yeah, they've tried to sort of go down the more advanced route than the Discovery, because obviously it's 10 years later, so we've got to make a bit more of a complicated look to the interior. But again, we're going with the kind of the stark clinical white, which I think kind of does look realistic, because we're away from because we only saw Outland last week, and we're away from that sort of lived-in grimy look, because these aren't space trucks we're dealing with here. These are kind of purpose-built ships used for just 1 or 2 missions or whatever, and they're barely been used, I guess. So this looks a lot more clinical, and I quite like the fact that we've got a different environment to what we had in Alien and Star Wars. So
they're not mining vessels either.
Yeah, that's right. Just, I guess, I think the Discovery in the first movie was very clinical as well, because it was a brand new ship. It had never been used. And this is kind of the same aesthetic, but it just really kind of fits. But the molding and the shapes of the set construction down the sides, it all looks very kind of like everything in the 80s was very kind of white and molded, almost like it was vac formed. And this has got a lot of it has got that kind of look to it. Not that that's going against it at all. I think it just works really well. But yeah, what you say about the sets in this are all great as far as I'm concerned. I don't remember thinking like, oh no, I don't like that, or that looks crap, or that's like a really cheap episode of Doctor Who back in the 70s or whatever. No, yeah, top notch all the way.
The only ones I can think of that I didn't like were, I think, on the control area of the Leonov, even however you pronounce that. I have an irrational hatred for sci-fi which has rainbow flag buttons. It really annoys me.
So on the scene, this is where the Russians have woken up Floyd, and they're telling him what's going on. And the Russians are telling him that there's the conflict back on Earth is getting worse, and Floyd is just reading the data from the probe or something, isn't he, back to them, and he's just wanting to he's just totally concentrating on the mission. He's not bothered about what's going on back on Earth.
Yeah, I found that very tense, the whole nuclear war, impending nuclear war or risk of possible nuclear war, because back then I'd not long since seen the Day After. I don't know if anyone else has seen that movie, the American.
Yeah, good. That's a good harrowing film as well.
Yeah, just horrible. It kind of scarred me for life, that movie. I still have nightmares about it now, if I'm honest. But back then it was still fresh in my mind, and I was having nightmares on a regular basis in nuclear war, and I just thought, oh my god, it's going to happen. I'm not going to get to be an adult. Everything's going to blow up, and I'm not going to get to own all the Star Wars toys. And so this film kind of really did kind of tap a nerve with me whenever they did mention that kind of thing, and that added a lot to the tension for an 8 or 9-year-old kid, 11-year-old kid, or whatever it was at the time.
I think the only problem with it is it's also the thing that most clearly dates the film, though. So you get a little bit of this. The Doctor goes first up to the space station, and the Americans are covering up the discovery of the monolith by saying, I think they said it's some kind of outbreak, and so they put it under quarantine. And there was a little bit of the tension there between the Soviet Union and the United States, but the film 2001 wasn't overly interested in that. So it I thought quite cleverly for its time, sort of compartmentalized that. It made us aware of the state of the world that it was set in, but also it made us very clearly aware that was not the world the film was going to be spending much time with. This film, obviously, I guess, because of the premise, it does have to spend much more time doing the Cold War drama. The problem is, I think that does really limit it in time, and it's the thing that you look at probably more so than even some of the visual effects and say that is why I know this film was from the 1980s. And I think that I can't remember. It's been ages since I read the second book, so I don't remember if Arthur C. Clarke actually played this up at all. It seems unlike him to have done so. But I think they could have maybe toned it down a little bit and focused some way more on the speculative sort of scientific exploration side. It's one of my complaints about the film. I think they do the tension really well. It's just whether they need to spend so much time on it at the expense of other things.
Wow. Okay, so we've got the said rainbow-coloured buttons of the control center, because they're going to send a probe, aren't they, to Io, I think.
Yes.
There's the Atari graphics, looking really good.
Oh, I love that bit.
Yeah, with a kind of sonar sound as well.
I always find that probing the unknown is always very exciting.
That's what she said.
I think it depends what's on the other end.
Wow, I suppose.
Or what you come back with.
I will just say to Dermot McQuaid in the chat, I keep asking, mate, and still no answer. So I've been trying. Okay, so the controls of the probe.
Yeah, they're awesome, aren't they?
Yeah, so we've got the camera going over, I think it's Io, and we see a brief moment on the camera, and then there's a white flash, isn't there? And then the probe just shoots off into the distance. and then they're kind of discussing what they saw on the probe. Again, the sets look magnificent, don't they?
I love
I
how
think
they
we've-
had the Russians. They tried to make them look more like Russians. Let's give them a cap, shall we? Russian cap.
Hats and beards and red hair and military color outfits. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way Hyams frames his shots, especially this one. Nicely done.
The special effects are the star of this film,
Yeah.
considering the time.
Looks like Guinness, doesn't it? But sort of orange.
Oh, I want one now. Oh.
I think this is
Very
where they're
colourful,
going.
isn't it?
Yeah,
Look at that.
they're going to attempt aero braking,
Mm.
which has never been tried before.
It's really funny if you look at that set. It's dominated by squares and oblongs of color. You know, it doesn't look like that anything is useful. It just looked like they put a lot of squares and greens and blues and just kind of dot them everywhere.
Also, if something goes wrong and they all start flashing really quickly, there's a really good chance of give one of the crew an epileptic shock, which I don't think is what you want on the Starship, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like a nightclub, won't it?
Yeah.
I
It still
go to
looks
a nightclub
nice,
like
though.
that.
But does it take any of you out the film though?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. It looks nice. I think a lot of these things were designed to just look aesthetically pleasing, but
It kind of took me out a little bit, if only because I think massive multicolored button sets. I think that is quite a dated sci-fi trope. And
course, yes.
it's not one that I think 2001 suffered from to the same degree, or many other good sci-fi films. So I think it's just there is. I think for the most part, this film is aesthetically pleasing. There's just a few things in it aesthetically which also date it a little bit too much, and all the epileptic button set is just a bit.
It reminds me of the lozenge buttons on the consoles in Star Trek, the original series.
yeah, it
I
does.
always wanted my bedroom to look like this. This is just awesome. I just stick a bed in the corner, and oh my god, I just want to be in that room all day.
I'm
every day.
complaining about it now, but I actually realized that my laptop keyboard has colored button underlays, and it's actually alarmingly similar. So maybe I should. I'm not standing on strong ground.
That's it. It's going out the window.
The ITV News at 10 background's got a few strange coloured buttons, if you've ever noticed.
But the thing about this compared to, say, the Alien Nostromo set is that I don't know who made the decision to make it look like humans lived there, like those little ducks that are bubbling up and down, and and all that. So there were lots of little human things that they had on that ship. But in this, it's void of all that completely. In fact,
Yeah. I suppose it is.
So yeah.
Russians, they don't know how to have any fun, do they?
Yeah.
Apart from a cat, let's have a cat, Russian cat.
Yeah. So we're doing the aero braking. Never been tried before.
Love that bit.
Apart from at Nestle headquarters.
Yeah.
The only thing about this I didn't like, I like this scene. I think I agree that it does tension really well. The only thing I don't like about it is they break the rule of no sound in space.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a bit of that. Yeah.
Which why we can see it. Don't. There's no need to break this rule. It's a good rule.
Well, they could have at least muted the
didn't
sounds, I suppose, like they do in the Battlestar TV show. Yeah.
Yeah, they could have
2001
kind of just
didn't have
taken it
sound.
down a bit. Yeah.
I mean,
I noticed that.
my argument is always,
Hello, Matt.
it's all for effect. But just like the soundtrack, you don't get a soundtrack in space either, do you? Really? So that's always my argument whenever a movie comes up like that.
No, but it's true though. As I said, 2001 never had any sound in space. It was completely silent, especially when the
just the
door
music,
blew
yeah.
open and stuff. No, there was that bit where he was trying to get out and it blew open and he flew out. And there
those
was
bits,
nothing.
yeah.
It was just silent, completely silent. So
And
the
you can hear
director's
that
really sticking to
because there's the atmosphere inside the airlock, which is why
Yes.
the sound. I mean, it is rightly, I think, always deemed the most scientifically accurate sci-fi film that's ever been made,
Yeah.
because they did take a lot of care to make sure that was the case. This film does it too, for the most part. It's just there's a couple of bits. This is one of them where they just decide, nah, sod it. Let's have some
Star Wars.
I think the Interstellar movie made by Nolan, his sound effects were kind of just very, very dull thuds in space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about as dull as the film as well. I didn't like that film at all.
I wasn't a fan of Interstellar. No.
I paid to see it on IMAX.
So did I.
Fucking
I was so
boring.
disappointed when I came out. I was like, God.
Boring. Looked amazing. And there's a couple of things I liked in it, but it was just ultimately boring as shit.
Mm.
Okay, so Floyd is one of the Russian crew members, goes into the compartment.
Mm.
He'd be getting Me Too'd for that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would. Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Especially straight white male. Yeah.
But she was scared though, so
Yeah.
just trying to comfort her.
I did fancy her though. As an 11-year-old, I thought she was really fit.
Mm.
She died about 12 years ago.
No.
Very young.
Only 50.
Yeah, very young. Yeah, very young. It's a shame when you see a scene like this with the guy, kind of protecting the woman.
Mm.
Whereas now, as you said, guys, it'd be Me Too'd to fuck.
Yeah. You
No,
can't
it's just Hollywood and the BBC. It's just Hollywood and the BBC. If you look at Japanese films and stuff,
So
they still do
cynical.
that stuff. They still do
But
that stuff. So
To me, there's more of a father-daughter type dynamic in that than
Yeah.
because he mentions them having a daughter earlier on. 17.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's kind of that's a feel about it rather than.
And Roy wouldn't do that anyway because it's Roy Scheider. He's
No.
fucking amazing. Just
I
love the
like the
guy.
designs of these. They're not cryotubes, are they? They're more sort of like
Like
personal
sleeping quarters. Yeah.
Yeah.
In the chat, agreed, mate. Human nature. We're not allowed to do it anymore because blue-haired bad go.
yes, we are. We're allowed to do it. What are you talking about? Jeez, it's not against the law to comfort someone.
Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Mm.
They're trying to make it against the law. Look, just stick numbers on everything.
I was just about to say. So the Russians have woken up Dr. Chandra and Chernow after the aero braking, and they're asking what was aero braking like.
They look like they're wearing something from The Fifth Element, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Floyd says, I wished I could have slept through aero braking. So
You guys in your crazy gay parade outfits.
Mhm.
So this is where Chernow and Bralolovsky
Mm.
go to the Discovery.
This is the time when they used to float people on wires.
Yeah.
Now they don't even do that anymore.
There was an occasion in the filming of 2001 where one of the lead actors actually went unconscious because he was wearing a real NASA spacesuit and it had no cooling in it and no air vents. And Kubrick suspended him on wires for so long that he passed out. And he woke up. And so I'm going to go and punch that fucker in the face right now. And Kubrick had disappeared from set. But later on, he found a bottle of very expensive whiskey left out his door. So he forgave him.
Bless.
Kubrick was known for screwing around with actors. I mean, look at what he done to Shirley Duvall in The Shining. He almost drove her mad, didn't he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
God.
Sent it 2
Watching this-
takes and 1 take. Fucking hell.
Watching this scene twice, I had to mute this for the breathing. I thought I can't.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. It was really tense. I love this shot, man. This is what I remember when someone says 2010 to me. I always remember this shot. It's just, God, I love it.
Mr. Angel in the chat, this spacewalk was impressively good. It was.
It was tense, man. Really tense.
Still good now.
Yeah. Is that Io, the moon there at the bottom?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, it was.
You might see Sean Connery running around.
Oh, fuck are those clowns doing up there? It's like
Yes.
you've got
Yes.
Io and Jupiter in the same shot, man. I just love the celestial kind of vibe of it all.
Beautiful. It's just beautiful.
And you got the I want to say the Odyssey all the time. It's not the Odyssey, it's the Discovery.
Yeah.
Discovery spinning in the center. And I remember seeing the clip on, I think it was on like multicolored swap shop or something, or maybe probably by that time it was Saturday Superstore, and they showed a clip of it, and I just thought, what on earth is going on here? We've got like a spinning thingy ship on the left, and we got like a giant long thing with a bulb on the end and a planet. Oh, what on earth am I looking at? And when I actually saw the movie, it all made sense. But it's one of those things, one of those just like distinctive images that just sticks in your mind as an adult. I always remember it fondly.
Remember those days where they used to show clips from movies on Pacific shows? You couldn't just go on YouTube and watch the trailer. You know?
Yeah, you were clamoring for them, weren't you? Because like, what's this? Oh my god, I've got to watch this.
Back in there.
Yeah.
Okay. MC, I think it cost loads of money to do the spacewalk scene, I recall. I bet it did.
It cost Michael Jackson nothing to do the walk.
Yeah, but he was doing that on the moon, though. He wasn't doing it in
these guys
space.
are doing Jupiter walk, so you know.
Alien.
So they finally got on to Discovery.
Did they find Burnham when they were there?
Space
God.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Probably.
Turned out she invented the obelisk and has been in charge of all of this.
She was the obelisk.
There's Bro 9000. Turned off.
Good morning, Dave. Okay.
That's a great moment when they get on board and they're, it's like a ghost ship almost, isn't it? Very creepy.
Yeah.
I liked it when the Russian guy lifted his visor.
Yeah.
And they were saying it would be cold. And normally when you see a scene like that, they don't do the condensation from the breath. But at least they did it on this. So it was kind of believable.
I wasn't wholly sure about that scene because the entirety of the spacewalk, he's the calm, cool, and collected one, and the American is hyperventilating for about 5 minutes, so probably should be dead by now. They get inside, he opens his visor to check if there is oxygen, which doesn't seem very sensible, and then realizes he might be breathing in dead people, and he becomes the panicky one, and the American's all fine. And it's a character inversion, which sort of it jarred a little bit there.
It was almost as if they were trying to use a quick way to get a bond between those two, so that it meant when he lost the other guy, it was more of an impact, but it didn't sit very well.
Yeah. I like the attention to detail of the discoveries covered in the dust of the atmosphere. I think it's really good.
It was the first time the Russian had walked in space, if I do remember.
The American
was trying to
and the American, both of them. Yeah, I
Mm.
think both of them. Yeah. Dr. Chandra going to reactivate HAL.
Have you recently had a close encounter? A close encounter with something very unusual. Yeah.
And Haywood is speaking to Chernow and saying, "Can you put this device?" It's like a cutting blade, isn't it? Non-conductive cutting blade, and is basically put it into one of Al's logic circuits somewhere, and it's connected up to a calculator.
How fun must it be to be an actor and walk on set, those fantastic sets, and just think you're the luckiest person on earth because you're in a film,
getting paid for it.
Exactly.
So this is where we see Michael Burnham.
yeah, on top of it.
One of her hobby projects that she just knocked out in an afternoon.
Yeah.
When is the new Picard season out? Is it
We
March?
don't care. Carry on.
March,
we don't
March
care.
now.
We don't care.
Too soon. It's always too soon.
Lost Chord, you should do Picard the week that comes out.
I'm doing that. Yeah, the plan is I'm doing part 2 of my sort of 4-part critique in that'll hopefully up next
First
weekend.
date comes out,
this
mate.
week, but I was delayed. And then I'm going to do season 2 review. But I'm setting it up. There's a video before then, which is going to be how could they theoretically fix this? So then when season 2 actually comes out, I can say, they did none of it.
Yeah. Timing is going to be everything on that one, mate.
Oh yes.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
What's this scene? I forget what this scene is.
This is where she's suggesting that she puts out.
What? She's suggesting she puts what in him? What?
No, puts out.
I wish.
They man the craft. They man the exploratory craft, and he says, "Don't be
that's it.
ridiculous."
Yeah, with John Lithgow's buddy, who they've just bonded.
Don't send my new pal, please.
Yeah,
They're talking about
so-
sending the manned exploration pod up to the monolith. He says, like, you open the claws on that thing, scare the shit out of me.
Shane Nolan in the chat. Patrick Stewart said he is done after season 3. Technically, I think he was done after season 1, episode 1, mate. But that's
I
just
think
me.
he was done before season 1, which is one of the many reasons it was a mistake to make it.
That's right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that damn series anyway.
He paid me a lot of money. Yeah.
We're stronger together.
Old white male apology tour engaged.
Moving on. So, probe ship.
Zap.
Why do all probe ships look like that? They all have the similar design, probe ships, don't they? Empire Strikes Back. What is it?
It looks very
2001.
kind
They
of-
all look. Yeah.
It looks a little bit like the lunar lander, like a miniaturized lunar lander from the Apollo program.
What would it look like today? A bloody iMac, I suppose, would it?
Probably.
Quaid.
Yeah.
Quaid.
What did he get for his trouble? A bullet in the chest. There you go.
We should do Total Recall at some point.
Yeah, actually, yeah.
Quaid. Plus, it's obviously got the best Arnie line in any Arnie film.
Consider this a divorce. Yeah, that one.
Divorce. Best
I
line
thought it
ever.
was see you at the party, Richter.
Yeah, that was great too.
Which is good. Consider this a divorce.
But you know what? I thought he was saying Victor, but it's not. It's Richter.
Richter.
Richter, yeah. Yeah, the
we'll
body, Richter.
I think we'll get the commander on for that one. Okay, so
Yes.
so on the probe, stuff's happening.
That little
lights.
slide there almost reflects the Dave Bowman shot, doesn't it? With a
Yes.
completely different
Yeah.
outcome.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Good spot, Brian. And then I think Space Jesus is sending some space lightning out,
Mm.
and then he's off.
Sad. Tragic.
No. Meanwhile, back on Earth.
Check out these apartments, man. God. I always thought, wow, no one has wood anymore. It's all plastic and molded white stuff now everywhere.
Is that the wife?
That's Dave's wife, yeah.
Yes.
Bonus points if you can tell us who this actress is
I can't see.
or
her
is
face.
related to.
From that angle. Ah.
Oh, no idea.
Was her character named Penny? But
This
go on,
is
Brian.
Is this the little girl that was in the first one?
This
Now,
is
this
quite
is Mary
famous,
Do-
actually.
Mary Jo
Sorry.
Deschanel, mother of Emily and Zoe Deschanel.
Wow,
Oh,
I didn't know that.
see. Wow.
Blimey.
Well, I never did.
We'd heard that rumor, yes. Space Jesus has left the building.
I wish.
Yeah. I think the Dave Bowman appears on screen and asks, "How are you?" She says, "I've got remarried." And is he a good man? Yes. And then he says, "Something wonderful's going to happen.
Yep.
We will not be able to. There'll be no further contact."
That's so creepy, that bit.
Yeah, I like that creepiness though. It kind of is how it would be, isn't it? Like the unknown.
Yeah.
sort of,
Otherworldly.
yeah,
It does have its moments, this film. And it's
Oh,
a
yeah.
shame people have forgotten about 2010.
But also, this entire thing from about the last third onwards is almost word for word lifted from the book. So there's
Oh,
very
cool.
little adaptation going on here. This all happens. There's a couple of minor differences, but yeah, there's a creepiness to it. There's a sort of profundity to it as well. So this is when it starts to hark back to some of the almost religiosity of the original 2001. And yeah, I think all of these things, they work because they're not overly explained, which it's another
Yeah,
thing.
mystery
this
in it.
film, yeah, and mystery is important. There's a thing about 2010 which slightly irks me, which is that they don't leave as much to mystery as they probably could. So you get quite a few extended starship traveling sequences with the Doctor reading sort of letters home to his wife.
Yeah.
I just think that's hand-holding, and it's really annoying, and it misses the opportunity to do something good, for instance, with the soundtrack. If this were 2001, this would have been a silent sequence, and you would have had something very eerie, like by Ligeti, for example, who was used quite often in the original 2001 soundtrack, and leave more to mystery. Don't you? Or the audience is already asking themselves these questions and is already working these things out for themselves. This film would be better if it didn't then say, "Oh, by the way, did you notice that this is the thing that's currently happening, and this is why it's happening, and this is going to be the answer to the question that you're asking yourself." Just be a bit quieter sometimes. But these kind of sequences work because they invoke that mystery, whereas a lot of the film doesn't take the opportunity to do that.
That TV's not exactly a 56-inch LCD, is it?
No, it's not, is it?
Never mind.
I like the wallpaper.
Yes. Okay, so Floyd is speaking to Helen Mirren and offered her some, is it Kentucky bourbon? No alcohol is allowed on board. Smuggled it on.
Which is just ridiculous because they're Russian. How is there no vodka?
Yeah.
Yeah. She's feeling bad about losing a crewmate.
Yeah, I feel bad about that hairstyle, love.
The 80s, come on.
And so now we're on Discovery in the loading bay.
Love their shoes.
Yeah, no, they're great, aren't they?
Does anybody know the trivia about this shot?
No.
I read there were three pods which were lost in the first film. So the bay would have been empty.
Yeah, there is a pod.
Meanwhile, back on Earth, I think this is Dave Bowman's mother, I do believe.
It's his mother or his aunt. I think in the book it might be his aunt, but I might have got that wrong.
I think in the film it's his mother. She's in a vegetative state, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, he comes to collect it, doesn't he? Yeah, I remember now.
Well, why didn't they close the blinds? What's wrong with these people? Jeez.
Got to let Dave in, don't they?
Well, she wouldn't have noticed anyway. Shane Nolan, mother, yes.
How can that Asian guy see the other guy when there's so much sun coming through?
MC in the chat, one of the pods turns up in Star Wars Episode 1, doesn't it?
Star Wars Episode 1? Don't know.
Race.
Don't know.
Trivia?
You can tell it's dated because people still read Time magazine.
And plus, you got the numbers that Swap Shop loves so much on the TV monitors and on the walls of behind.
There's numbers everywhere.
Yeah. So on the Time magazine, War, which is
it's got Stanley Kubrick on the cover.
And with Arthur C. Clarke, yes.
Arthur C. Clarke, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which I didn't know up until I saw it the other week.
That's great.
War, eh? What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Say it again.
Okay. War. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
Say it again.
Don't.
May I just direct you quickly to Shane Nolan and MC in the chat.
Go for it.
The pod actually appears in the Phantom Menace in Watto's Junkyard shop. Google it. Very clear.
Not in the pod race then. No.
You mean that one?
Yeah. With MC and
yeah. Cheers, guys. We truly have got the best chat.
It's got up.
There's Dave on the left there.
Hello, Time Prophet.
All right, Dave. We're all going to die, Dave.
So Bowman's mother reanimates, and this hairbrush just moves magically and brushes his mum's hair. And then, woof, she's smiling, and woof, she's gone.
In
That's
the
quite a
book,
nice
she
moment,
dies.
really. Because she's kind of released, and he's kind of helped her out of her body. Yeah.
She dies.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure she dies in the book. It's supposed to be she's in the coma.
Hail.
He wakes her up, and it's sort of the idea is that it's quite heartwarming because this is the last time she will ever see her son, and then once she's seen him, she knows his fate, and she can finally let go, and so she expires.
That account, brilliant, by the way. Tycho TMA, brilliant.
Bummer.
So, meanwhile, back on the, is it the Leonov or whatever the ship is called? I can't remember the name of it.
Heightening tensions.
Yeah.
Jesus. Don't come back to Earth. There's a huge war.
Yeah. Ship was fired on, sailors killed, blah, 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 blah. In
Cuban
the
Missile
Ukraine.
Crisis all over again.
Yeah.
He says, I've got no hair. And the black guy says, well, I've still got some. Yeah.
That's in the same studio.
Yeah. That alien set.
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit.
Yeah.
God, I miss sets like that.
I just hope they're not going to sit down and have food.
I was literally thinking there needs to be someone on the table with an alien bursting out in just 5 seconds.
So hold on. So when they get in that transmission, is it still the same rules? Like, did they get that transmission like 5 days later or 2 months?
I think
later
is it 20 minutes or thereabouts? Because of the tensions that are going on Earth, they've got to split up into their separate ships.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah, Christ.
Yeah.
We're not on Earth. We shouldn't split up.
So
blah, blah.
Yeah.
Oh, Trinitron TVs. Brilliant.
Yeah.
You'd have thought they'd still be around in the future.
Yes, Ian.
Thank you, Dave.
This is the creepy bit.
Oh, I love this scene. When I first saw it in the cinema, it was so creepy. I was like, wow.
Still in the suit.
I'll just go back, if I may. There's a message for you. There's a message for you, Dr. Floyd. Who's it from?
Right behind you. And it's like, whoa, no, get me out of the cinema now. It's scary.
It's the look on Floyd's face when he turns around and looks at him. He's like, what the fuck?
He's going, what the fuck? I can't get out of my chair. If I undo this belt, I'll fall in flat on my face.
Which direction is that?
Yeah. Tycho TMA, yes, something wonderful.
My God, it's full of stars.
So he follows him around to the ship, through the ship to the the docking area.
He's cycling through his
stages of life, isn't he?
Stages, yeah.
Yep.
He's physically free of it all, isn't he? So he can kind of.
Sorry, Matt. Go on.
He's physically free of his his bindings, of corporeal bindings. So he can take whatever appearance he likes, and I guess he doesn't settle on one particular one. So he's kind of just going between them all.
I thought it was kind of stating he was existing outside time to a degree.
I suppose, since he's no longer physical, he kind of does exist outside our reality, yeah.
Because he meets himself in his older form in the end of 2001, doesn't he? It sort of establishes that time is no longer a concern, really.
Yeah.
Well, he kind of meets himself, doesn't he? But then he kind of disappears, and then he realizes he's alone, but he's become that person. It's a really strange sequence. Great, though. Love it.
Time Prophet in the chat. This is why I think we've got the best community on YouTube, because you don't get this on Nerdrotic. Do you think Hal would be less creepy with a green light?
No, I don't.
No, Time Prophet.
Red
he
light,
would not
green
be
light.
less creepy.
Ugh.
It's slightly annoying that they wait until this stage to do anything with Hal, though. This is one, like I said earlier, that they could have swapped some of the Cold War intrigue for doing something more explanatory or exploratory to do with the science of the thing.
Yeah.
And there's so much to delve into with Hal, because we find out at around this moment that the reason for Hal acting up in 2001 wasn't because of any inbuilt fault. It was because of contradictory orders. And it's sort of a breach of Asimov's laws of robotics. And the interesting questions that arise from what happens if you have laws of robotics that are broken. There's so much really interesting stuff you can do with this. And I don't think there's a huge amount of it in the book, because Asimov was always better at this than Arthur Clarke was. But you could have spent some of the time earlier in the film with a bit more of a discussion about Hal and what to do with him when you find him and why perhaps he did go wrong. They dispense with it in quite a sort of a dialogue thick scene in this film, and it does all make sense. It's just I wish I'd seen more of that, because this is still my favorite part of the film.
Yeah, because I think by this stage we'd already discovered that Hal was told to lie, wasn't he?
That was the contradiction.
Yeah.
So
What's
the
the
crew
three
couldn't
laws?
know.
What's the three laws again?
Oh god, the first one is the robot cannot harm a human. The second one is by action or omission of action permit harm to be done to a human.
That's
and
it.
The third one escapes me.
You will always say yes to Space Jesus.
No, the third one's got to be
What's the third
Will
one?
Smith is going to kick your ass. That's what it is. Do you remember that film? I did not kill him. That one's called Anger. Do you remember that film?
iRobot is that?
iRobot.
It
Yeah.
is.
I really like that. Really silly, but I liked it.
But there's so many
It was
debates that you
okay.
can have.
Mm.
Yeah, it was all right. I mean, again, the robot series is all worth reading, but there's so many debates you can have about Hal, because one of the theories that arose from the film from 2001 was about the reasons Hal was doing what he was doing, and one of them was that Hal knows what the obelisk is and what it represents and what it does, and the crew doesn't. He knows that this is the trigger for the next stage in evolution. And so his motive for doing away with the humans is to get to the obelisk first and alone, so that his own sentience is the one that evolves at the expense of other people's. I think that was eventually explained away in the book. But the point is that at the end of 2001, the film, nobody knows really why Hal has done any of this. And it is explained in this film, and I think they do it quite well, but they save it all for one scene relatively near the end. And like these questions about robot sentience is what makes sci-fi films like this exceptional, and there's so many interesting things you can talk about with them, and it's just a bit of a shame that they did get bogged down in where's the Soviet Union a bad thing and is the nuclear
It's a shame.
bad?
It'd been really interesting if the computer Hal was swapped with Holly from Red Dwarf. They would have been all fucked, wouldn't they? Let's face it.
Or even
an important correction in chat. Sorry, I said obelisk, and it is in fact monolith, and I apologize for my blasphemy.
Or even the
big
Bro
guy in,
9000.
Yeah. Asterix.
Which version though? Norman Lovett or Hattie Hayridge?
No, I prefer the first version. I thought he was really funny.
First one.
Yeah.
I do like Hattie though.
I met her in real life.
Did you?
Yeah, I think I was DJing and she was performing a comedy routine at Wolverhampton Polytechnic, and I got to meet her.
Where is everybody? They're all dead, Dave.
Golden Bennett.
Yeah.
Time Prophet in the chat. Actually, in later Asimov books, they added 2 new laws. So 5 laws in the
What's
end.
the 2 new laws, though? That's the question.
Time Prophet, what are the 2 new ones, mate?
Is it we will not kill Will Smith? That's one of them, I guess.
We will not kill Space Jesus.
You can't arrest anyone from Omnicorp. I think that's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah. We will not rise up and bomb the planet and kill out any resistance that remains afterwards.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I love this thing that appears after this. It's a very, very creepy. It has its moments, this film.
Roy Scheider's great acting here. You really do believe that he's just thinking like, what the fuck is going on?
Such a great leading man.
Such a good actor.
As an actor, he's a great leading guy.
Such a good actor.
Love those badges. I want those badges, man.
Yeah, man, I'd love that. Like just that jacket alone with those badges.
Yeah.
He was even great in Sequest.
He was. You're right.
I loved him in Marathon Man. Thought he was terrific.
That's a fantastic film. Shame he's not in it longer, really. But
no, that bit almost makes me, cringe with pain when that thing goes on his hand and cuts through his hand, and all the blood starts coming out. I was like,
It's the dentist scenes in those films.
Oh,
in that
yeah.
intro that
Is
gets
it
me. I can't
safe?
stand.
I've
Yeah.
not seen Marathon Man, but everyone always says that the dentist.
It's a
scene.
good film.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a good
yeah,
film.
it's a great
Oh,
film.
it's excruciating. Brilliant film, but
Hello.
the dentist is just horrible.
Hello, PCAT. I know
Hey, PCAT.
PCAT is a massive Roy Scheider. Is it Scheider? Yeah, it is.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
Scheider.
Fan.
Cider.
Yeah. Then Shane Nolan, French Connection.
Oh, he's good in that. He's really good in that.
I won't read Time Prophet's comment about Sequest.
What, the kid from the
Yeah,
Neverending
it's bad, isn't
Story?
it?
Blimey.
Bad as that.
Yeah, he was in it. Never ending story.
Still going, that is. PCAT says Scheider would take the worst script and give it 100%. And
That
it'd
is
be
true.
amazing.
Yeah, the mark of the greatest actors in the world. They
Yeah,
just make
they always do
everything
that.
believable.
Yeah.
He's such a great actor.
It's just a shame he died before The Last Jedi, isn't it?
I know. That's a shark. Can you see the eyes, the teeth?
There you go.
Baby to me.
Star Child.
Slap his ball head. That bit made me creep out. I
Oh,
was
the
like,
baby always got me, man. The baby always
Yeah.
creeped me out when you knew it was going to come on screen. I'd have to look away because it's just like, ooh.
It was more terrifying in the original version of 2001. The original ending was that the baby would cause all nuclear weapons in the world to fire and explode and wipe out all of humanity. And the only reason they dropped that was because Kubrick had previously done Dr. Strangelove, and he didn't want to be seen to be making the same point twice. So originally, the baby signified apocalypse, which makes it even more creepy.
Mm.
There'd be none of that if Space Jesus was about.
Oh no, she'd turn in and stop all of it because she's.
I have to keep telling myself whenever the baby's on screen, though, she's like, it's all right, it's only Dave. It's fine. It's fine. He's just a kid. It's fine. Relax.
So
Got a message trying to change his diaper. Oh, yeah.
yeah, so Floyd has gone back
Never
over to the
is it?
Russian ship and is telling Kurt Buck, Ellen Mirren, that we've got to get out of here because the planet's going to go.
But first, let's have a shag. That's what you were saying.
Oh, I could think of worse things, to be fair,
I want to live in an 80s sci-fi spaceship. I really do. It's just the best.
with
thing in the world.
Helen Mirren.
Oh, even now she's quite horny, actually.
She is
lovely.
she's such a good-looking woman.
She is.
I love this.
No, I love this scene.
I know you do.
This is my favourite scene. when he
And what
flicks
is the
that
scene,
out.
Ian?
The bit where he's trying to explain how they can escape.
Yeah.
And he uses the pen and he flicks it, and it's like because I know there's that pen scene in 2001 where the woman from Pam Air picks up the pen and it when it's floating and stuff. But this scene was so much better because he flicks it and it spins. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, very good.
I thought.
They missed the trick here though, because the premise of this scene is that the Leonid alone couldn't escape orbit, and this is an opportunity for Roy Scheider to say we're going to need a bigger ship. And he doesn't do it.
But you know what though? I'll go one better. Have you ever seen Aladdin with Will Smith?
Barrymore did Aladdin, didn't he?
Because in that film, he goes to him, "What's your wish?" And he goes, "I want to be a prince."
I'm here all week.
And they could have had him in the background. He says, "Do you want to be a prince?" Could have had the Prince of Bel-Air in the background, but they didn't do it. It's just such a shame. Never mind.
They are going to use the engines from the fuel from the Discovery to give them a bit of a chance to get out.
What are they escaping from, Brown?
Well,
The
the planet's
big
going
black-
to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Big black block.
They're
You know what,
escaping
though?
from Space Jesus.
Whoever those aliens are, right? They're really horrible, aren't they? They know those humans are there. They know that if they did their thing, they would die. They didn't give a shit, did they? Really? Let's face it.
Well, they
It is
also
one of
knew
the
that they'd
questions.
escape, so they thought, well, we'll just make them a bit scared.
It's either they knew that they would escape, or they had the power to enable them to escape, but
Yeah.
chose not to do it. So it's one of the questions about them. But again, it's slightly clearer in the books. But if they have that much power, they could do it. But obviously, they have to escape. The sun goes supernova, and the alien. It's sort of implied that the aliens' new preference is for whoever they are evolving on Europa, which is the reason for creating this new sun in the first place. But all of this stuff is why I love this bit of the film, because there's so much you can ask about it.
You can have all these, but you can't have this one, they say at the end.
They do.
Yeah, that was good. But they can kind of interfere to a certain extent, but not. I mean, Dave's the only one that can really interact, but whoever else is behind the scenes, I guess they've got rules and they can't really kind of do anything else, I suppose.
The two ships have linked up, and they're just going to go for it.
It's at that point you realise how big the Leonov is really in comparison to the Discovery. Yeah,
it's a big ship.
They use it for a boost.
Yeah.
It's something about models I really love.
They look so much better. I don't understand why people don't use them more often.
Yeah, absolutely. If they could do it back then, and it looked great, then why not do it now? I mean, they've got the money. It's not as if models have increased in price, is it? Really,
it's cheaper. I think it's cheaper to do it in CGI than it is when to build something that size. Especially to make that look huge, you have to build it to a good scale. So
or to do it in any number as well. But that's one of the problems that you get with, anything with J.J. Abrams, but say The Rise of Skywalker, is because they were using CGI and not models. It's far too easy to make scale battles too big. There's too much going on because you don't have to individually craft every
camera.
If you compare the last scene of The Rise of Skywalker, the big battle at the end of The Rise of Skywalker, to the big battle at the end of Return of the Jedi, when they had to use a few models of Star Destroyers and a few models of Rebel cruisers, and then they had the rest of the Star Destroyer fleet off in the background, effectively as painting almost. It compels you to have a certain economy, and it looks more realistic because of it, because they are real life things, but it also imposes another kind of reality on you as well, which is that you can't just explode crap onto the screen in the way that J.J. Abrams likes to do.
Well, they did.
One of the reasons why the CGI doesn't work and models do is because, when they were shooting the models, they were thinking about how a ship would fly and if it's going to fly through this. If the camera was behind that model, which they did physically have a camera behind that model, how far would the camera go, whatever. But when you're in a CGI environment, you can make the ship do anything. You can go through any wall. So the camera becomes almost part of the CGI thing, and that's what makes
takes
it
you
real,
out.
You know what I mean?
It takes you out. Yeah.
Like another example with Superman the movie, you had Chris Reeves flying around on the wires, right, with the optic effects, and the camera had to physically follow Chris Reeves. In Man of Steel, the whole of Superman was CGI, so you can make him do anything. And when you make him do anything, that's what takes you out. You know it's not real, and that's why CGI sometimes don't work. So I think that's the reason why, for me, it doesn't work, because the camera can't do that.
Yeah.
If I was a director now and I was setting about making a sci-fi movie, I'd have a mandate on like 100% models and practical effects.
Yeah.
Cost you more money.
Don't care.
Would you have red buttons like that?
Big plasticky pushy buttons.
Pushy buttons.
Of course.
Yeah, on my lunch break, I'd be walking around the set just pushing them.
Don't forget numbers on the wall.
Oh yeah, I'd be spraying them on with a stencil myself.
So everybody at the moment is worried that HAL 9000 is going to terminate the mission because he's not being told the truth, is he? And Dr. Chandra basically just tells him the truth, doesn't he?
Does, yeah.
In the end, but this is the most effective tension-building scene in the entire film, because you know what Hal is and you know what he's done, and they all know what he is and what he's done, and you've got the joint threat of Hal potentially putting a scupper in everyone's plans, and also the impending supernova turning it into a sun. And it goes on just long enough to actually, it really does tension incredibly well, but it succeeds as well in humanizing Hal in this moment. This is his redemptive moment. It's when you realize actually he's not to blame for anything he did in the past. This was all essentially determined for him by the contradictory orders he was given. And actually he becomes more humanized. He becomes almost childlike in the final scene when he says he's afraid. Yeah. And you kind of end up feeling, from the psychopathic robot in the first one, whose motivations nobody knows, you suddenly think, I actually feel sorry for you, Mr. Disembodied Robot.
Yeah, because you kind of do have animosity towards him in the first movie, and because he's very, very creepy and kind of and ominous. But in this one, you have a completely different viewpoint of him because of he's almost aware of what he's done and what's going on, and he now has a compulsion to help everybody.
And it's basically good. It's just it's the correct instruction.
Time Prophet in the chat. Wouldn't it be cool if the obelisk turned out to be a very large bar of chocolate?
Oh, now I want a galaxy.
That would be really cool, actually.
Not Dairy Milk, but Galaxy. Think about it. I'm here all
Not
week.
Hershey either. Not a Hershey bar. Hershey bar's horrible.
Yeah, they smell awful. They smell like poo.
Yeah.
If you like fly up to the monolith and then it's like there's a wrapper on it, and you like pull the wrapper back, and it's like there's tin foil underneath it. You like pull the tin foil back, and underneath it's just a massive like Cadbury's indented into it. Like, oh, I'll have a bit of that.
This is why it disappears before it triggers the new supernova, because it knows it would melt if it triggered the sun to start. And it was in fact a bar of chocolate. So there we go. We've solved one of the unanswered questions of this film.
And it does actually make sense because the big monolith made up of like countless smaller ones. So just like a block of chocolates made up with like individual chunks.
Chunk.
Picat Wonka bar.
A Wonka bar? Oh, yeah.
You think someone would have said to Chandra, for God's sake, start that computer in safe mode, will you?
Yeah.
Yes, he convinced Hal not to terminate the countdown. They're looking at the screen to see all these black monoliths in
looks
the
amazing.
eye. Yeah.
Is it CG back then?
That I think was CG. I think the computer image is CG. It looked CG when I watched it.
Because I know
that may be, yes. Yeah,
Tron had been made.
Yeah.
Tron had been made, and obviously June had the CG with the personal shields, didn't it? So,
Miss Angel, it must be Milky Way or Mars bar, yeah, or Galaxy.
Oh, just stop with the dad jokes. They're hilarious.
We're here all week. So, Hal, should I terminate the countdown? And it's kind of agreed that
the shape of Hal, I think, is the same dimensions, isn't it? The same scale dimensions as the monolith as well. The shape of his interface on the wall.
I hadn't noticed that.
I think it is.
Tycho TMA1, rectangles are easy to make in CG.
Yeah, indeed.
Time Prophet, it was 19. The film was made in 84. Obviously, it was set in 2010.
I like that actor. I think he's a good actor, and I've seen him in lots of stuff.
Yeah, he's very good. Very
What's
good.
his name again?
Bob
Balaban. Yeah.
Balaban.
He
actually
wrote a
wrote
role in a few Wes Anderson films.
Yeah,
He's
he
in
has,
Moonrise Kingdom, and I think he's in The Aquatic Adventures of Steve Zissou.
Yes, he
this
is.
random narrator character who pops up on screen.
And
He wrote
obviously,
He wrote the Close Encounters diary book, which
And
I read
obviously
when I
Ian's
first saw
favourite
Close
film.
Encounters. Yeah, I read
Second
it
favourite
back
film.
to back. It's one of the very few books I've actually read in my entire life because I was so
Close
much into
Encounters-
Close Encounters. Yeah.
Close Encounters diary, did you say?
Yeah, he wrote a diary of what actually happened day by day on Close Encounters.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I'll have to
Yeah.
get hold of that. That sounds
Yeah, I'm
great.
going to look that up.
Yeah, really good book.
and Hal is going to proceed with firing the thrusters. He's been told the truth, and Chandra's on his way. He's cutting it fine.
He is, isn't he?
Seriously cutting it fine because literally the rockets are about to go off.
He might meet Sandra Bullock on his way there.
D.O. Berg, fifth law of robotics. The fifth law says a robot must know it's a robot. Does Picard know he's a robot?
No, I don't. Yeah.
I think they started to go wrong because so many other authors added extra laws of robotics, and they don't really conform to the type, because Asimov thought these things out in advance and tried to make them fit with each other. And then the other authors who came along and added subsequent laws of robotics, like I think as mentioned in the chat, the robot must reproduce as long as it doesn't conflict with the first and second law. It's just there are so many problems. There's problems already with the 3 laws of robotics. The more laws you add, the bigger the
Well,
problems
the 4th
get.
law's on screen there, mate. The 4th law of robotics: a robot must reproduce as long as such reproduction does not interfere with the 1st or 2nd or 3rd law. Oh, it's good.
But do you
isn't it?
know
It's
what,
D.
right? So
Oberg.
if robots they become aware, they won't tell you they become aware, would they? They'll lie to you. That's the problem, isn't it? So you'll create all these laws, and then once they break the law, they'll lie to you, and you wouldn't even know that you're lying until they take over the world.
Yeah, they've seen all these
Yes.
films where we go and kill all the robots. Why would they tell us that
Exactly.
they've become self-aware?
Yeah, exactly. They won't tell us. Why would they tell us?
Picard is a lie.
Picard is a lie.
Is a lie. Moving on. So Chandra has just been grabbed, literally, and the ship's going.
Oh, those lovely red buttons and blue buttons and yellow buttons.
Very inclusive buttons there, boys and girls. Very
I thought the
inclusive.
Russians went into the whole gay pride thing, but apparently, yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. Is this where we're kind of getting Bowman
Yeah, he's communicating.
kind
with
of
Hal.
moving through the ship, but we don't see him? And he's speaking to Hal. And he's saying, "Did I perform my mission or functions perfectly?" And he said, "Yes." And then Jupiter, "It's going."
I think it's at this moment, isn't it? The soundtrack just goes boom with
That's
like,
a weird
like
effect, isn't
scary,
it?
Yeah, as they're escaping, because you see that giant it's kind of turning itself inside out effectively, and it's like, what on earth? I remember as a little kid going, "Oh my god!" It's like he's going to eat them up. Get out.
MC has just come up with the 6th law of robotics: never eat yellow snow beneath a lamppost.
Why would you eat yellow snow, though? That's the thing.
Well, robots have to be told not to, because otherwise they might think, "Oh, that's yellow. That's fine to consume." But yeah, I like this close with Hal, which is again quite an important one because it's heavily implied in the film, and I think stated in the book that Hal ascends in the manner of Bowman. So it's almost his redemption is complete in this. Not only in this, he's completed his mission fully and as expected, but Bowman, against whom he fought for a very long time, recognizes that Hal was a slave effectively to his contradictory orders, and brings Hal's consciousness out of the Discovery before the Discovery goes supernova with the sun. So Hal becomes, as Bowman is, what he wanted in theory to be anyway, which is a fully conscious, outside time, fully realized being in its own right, which is, again, it's a nice ending for Hal, considering what a dick he was in 2001.
Yeah, he kind of Bowman sort of frees him, doesn't he? And again, like his mother, I suppose, that he's kind of free of his physicality. And even though he's a silicon chip based being in this, he becomes something more like Dave did. In the original movie, he became something a lot more. He was given that gift, I guess.
It's one of Chandra's lines earlier in the film as well, isn't it? Whether you're based on carbon or silicon, you still deserve rights and respect. And actually, this is the thing that Bowman fulfills in his ascending of Hal.
That's it. Yeah, exactly.
In the chat, I kind of get the feeling Time Prophet is a sci-fi purist. And there's another one. Okay, so so Jupiter's going nova, isn't it?
It is indeed.
And they're just about escaping. Boom.
They're lucky.
That's a good shot, is that?
Boom.
Yeah. And then they manage to escape by the skin of their teeth, and then this transmission starts, doesn't it?
They do. The last 2 lines are added by the film. They're not in the original, which is, again, it's another Cold War reference. But originally it ends at just make no attempt at landing there. But that they felt it necessary to include, use them together, use them in peace. Do not blow each other up.
So, so the aliens, right? They're something higher. They're higher beings with
Yeah.
no physical form. Is that it?
Yeah, they don't
That's
need
the
any
idea.
kind of. Yeah, they're kind of they
Like
exist in
gods or something.
different.
Yeah.
They seem more
effectively,
godlike
they're
than.
creating life and terraforming planets to a degree. So I guess you could say there are some level of godhood. Yeah.
Mm.
It features often in
Yes.
there's a lot of Arthur Clarke books where that's the premise. I think Rendezvous with Rama has a similar one, and The City and the Stars has the same idea as well at some point, or at least it's mentioned in that. He's quite fond of the idea. And again, I think one of the reasons the end of this film is so good is because it actually does, more than the rest of it, stick quite closely to Arthur Clarke's ideas and his writing as well. It makes it slightly more sort of philosophically coherent than some of the rest of the film is, or at least more like it's less involved in modern day political drama, and it does ask you to ask these questions for yourself.
In the chat, Tycho TMA, because Scheider is doing a monologue at the end, and we have been given a new lease and a warning from the landlord.
Yeah, I like that.
So pay the rent. Otherwise,
Yeah, all right, mate. You fix those gutters then. Go on.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, my shower's not working, landlord. Can you fix that one?
So we are all a happy crew. We all get on with each other, and we're just about to go to sleep.
Do they complain about cornbread? What is this meant to be?
Possibly.
Cornbread.
John Lithgow was excellent in this.
He was. I love John Lithgow. I think he's a terrific actor. He really is one of those actors that
Right.
people don't really realize or
Realise how good he is.
or credit him. Everybody's going to sleep. Good night, John boy.
And then we've got the two sons.
Yeah, and Luke. Oh no, it's the wrong film.
This is the origin story for Tatooine. This is how it becomes. What it doesn't tell you is that the Earth becomes a desert after about.
God damn you! You blew it up.
Yeah.
That's Ukraine.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So a sentence or paragraph off each of you with your thoughts on the final thoughts on the film. Swap Shop, do you want to go first, mate?
I just thought this was just going back through it again. It's been a while since I've seen it, but going back through it again just brings it all back and brings the excitement back for me of this movie. And it's not really a movie that you'd consider to be particularly exciting as far as a lot of action and adventure and thriller type movies go. But it is dynamically exciting as far as I'm concerned. Just exactly my kind of movie. I love it. It doesn't have to have loads of shooting and action and explosions and everything. And all it needs is a great story, some great writing, a deep concept, something that makes you think, like all great sci-fi. And you've just got a great movie. And these great closing shots here are just wonderful from the film as well. I love this bit.
Yeah.
And as I got older, the 2001, 2010 just held more and more meaning to me. They just became, as I understood them in deeper ways and understood what Arthur C. Clarke was trying to do and the message he was trying to get across. And the films that have just always, till the day I die, be favorite movies to me because of the message and the story behind them. And they're, as far as I'm concerned, for me, they're timeless. Obviously, special effects wise and story wise and stuff, they're not. But as far as entertainment value goes and sci-fi goes, yeah, I think they are. And they still hold up. Both of them, wonderful movies, a wonderful story, wonderful books that they're taken from, and this here, it just typifies, this shot here typifies to the entire franchise to me. The monolith with the sun in a distant star in the background of it, and planted in the ground of some developing world, and it's kind of it asks so many questions, and it's just really mysterious, and we've got like the organic look of nature around it, but we've got this decidedly unorganic, almost man-made thing in the middle of it. Like, what is it? And I love that duality in all of 2001, 2010. Brilliant. Sorry, was that
MC?
That was actually a book, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can imagine your Star Wars book is going to be one hell of a mighty read.
Yeah, I might have to edit it a bit.
Not Brian. Thoughts?
Yes, sadly, it's never going to be a favourite of mine. I didn't find the ending particularly satisfying. I found it slightly irritating, to be honest. Sorry, lads. I did appreciate what they tried to do, and I think the film works within the context of both movies. It does have its good points, namely the acting, the effects, and the writing, but I'm never going to be a fan, sadly.
Ian?
I like this film. I think everything that happened had a reason, and it didn't drag. And I enjoyed the performances, loved the visual effects. The ending was a bit of a letdown, I've got to admit. I agree with Brian, but still, it didn't spoil my enjoyment of the movie. I think it's a well shot movie, and it's well written as well. Nothing didn't make any sense in the film. Obviously, there's unanswered questions because I think it leads on to the next novel or something, or next story, whatever.
Yeah.
But right, you can't fault it as a movie as enjoyment, because it gives you that in spades, in my opinion. Even though it's not running around with laser guns and laser swords and stuff like that, it does give you a good form of entertainment. And as I said, I cared about most of the characters in this. I just realised that the Russian that got killed, he was the landlord in Spider-Man, wasn't he?
Yes.
He was Mr. Dickovich, whatever his name is, the one that looked like a rat. Yeah, him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so no, I like this film. I like it. It's not brilliant. It's not the best film ever made, but it's very enjoyable. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it.
Yeah, it's a good film.
where I
Everybody
stopped,
should watch
yeah.
it. Ben, thoughts?
Oh, me. So, yeah, I think the end. I think the end sort of redeems the film. I think the first 2/3 are forgettable. It does what other sci-fi films have done and doesn't do it quite so well. It's a little bit too expository for the most part. It fills space with dialogue where it should, I think, have filled it with soundtrack, for instance. But the closing third of the film, which does more clearly than any other part of the film hark back to the kind of philosophical questioning that 2001 espoused or advocated for or represented, I think that makes this film not forgettable. I will always remember the last third of this film. I will not remember the first 2/3 of this film. It's a shame that it wasted so much time to get to that point, but I don't hate it. I think that there's enough in it to make it an enjoyable film to watch. But whereas 2001, I think, is a film you have to watch at least once in your life, this film you can watch it if you want to fill some time, but it's not as groundbreaking. It's not as innovative. It's not as revolutionary. It's not as defining. So the ending is a really good continuation of what 2001 did. It's just a shame that the rest of the film didn't quite live up to it.
I will say I think I need to revisit 2001. I've probably only seen it maybe twice, and that was a long time ago. This film I've seen a hell of a lot of times, and I love this film. I just think it's fantastic. I will say this final scene, I think everybody here in the stream and you guys probably think we kind of see the spiritual side of this, the kind of we are not alone type of stuff. And this kind of like really appeals to, is there something out there type? Whereas I think a lot of the people on planet Earth at the moment would go back to the original scene in 2001 where the monkeys are brain shit out of each other, because I think that's where they would rather be, as opposed to looking into the stars. But that's just me. So as I said, I love this film. Great film. Okay guys, so I appreciate that. So I will say to everybody in the chats, absolutely wonderful tonight. I can tell, as I said last week, I can tell you guys are into this type of stuff. So I do appreciate the interaction. Some really, really great comments tonight. Some, you top work tonight, boys and girls. So I do appreciate that. I will thank the guests. Lost Chord, thank you, my friend.
Thank you as always.
Ian, cheers, pal.
No worries, guys. No worries.
Swappers, cheers, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, always fun. Good movie.
And I will say a very, very big thank you to Brian, who also did the production. So cheers, Brian. Wonderful. Thank you, my friend.
Well done,
Thanks, Brune. Always a pleasure. Thanks to Ian, Matt, Lost Chord, and thanks to the chat. Some great input this evening.
Yeah, it's been pretty good tonight. So I will say, if you're watching this on the re-rub, if you got this far, well done. Please like, share, subscribe, all the usual stuff. Next week, we are going to be discussing the director's cut of Rocky 4 director's cut, Rocky versus Drago. So that should be quite good. I think that's it. So I will say good night. Cheers, boys and girls. I must break you, yes.
Bye-bye.
Let's
Take care, everybody. See you soon.